Hello and welcome to this podcast from Espace Real Estate. My name is Jake and I'm head of off-plan at Espace, and today I'm welcomed by one of our top performers, Jordan Zakaria. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. We're very excited for this podcast.
Very excited indeed, because we have an amazing guest from Muraba. Marius, how are you doing?
Gentlemen, thank you for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm obviously the sales manager at Muraba, and really appreciate to do this podcast with you guys. I've been watching your other episodes, and it's a pleasure to be here and talk about Muraba and the new projects that we have called Muraba Vale.
So it's actually a funny story, because this is one of the projects that Jordan's been very excited about, has been banging on about in the office, screaming about as well. It's definitely a project he's been behind. So it's an amazing opportunity, I think, for Espace listeners, Espace joiners to actually find out more about this project, why it's a standout project in the market as well. And for me to kind of go on that journey, and our listeners to go on that journey as well, why this should be at the top of their attention.
Yeah,
no, I've been waiting for this day, this project, and it's just amazing. From the day we went to the, not sales center, like the gallery, I thought this is definitely something that's going to really be set apart in Dubai and the world as well. It's stunning, so I'm really excited to talk about it today for people to really understand what this project's about. And I think, we should start with that. What is it that inspired Muraba Vale, and how do you feel it's going to set itself apart from other luxury projects in Dubai?
Yeah, very good question. Look, the whole concept, the whole reason why Muraba is what it is today is because our founder, Mr. Ibrahim Al Gurer, is very passionate about architecture and really like fine design. And he's created Muraba as a company it's a boutique development company. He's created this company to express his passion for exceptional architecture. We did our first project on the Palm, Muraba Development, which you guys know, much more smaller project, only 50 residences. And, we've worked with the same partners, RCR Architects, for the last 13 years. And he created this company to kind of just do things on a different level. Dubai is a very good market. It's a very saturated market, especially for off-plan, as you guys know. There's a lot of choice in the market, and even in the luxury segment, it's a saturated market in terms of branded residences. So Muraba Vale is completely, again, like, it goes completely in a different direction. It's all about really, really attention to the finer details. It's like a piece of art. And that comes from Ibrahim's vision to create something really, really exceptional that hasn't been created in Dubai. You have phenomenal projects in Dubai, but nothing of this standard. And, it's been kind of a journey of 13 years, really, because we've worked exclusively with RCR for the last 13 years. They've worked on his private residences as well, on the first project on the Palm, and a few other projects in the UAE. And that relationship that we've had with them for 13 years really now culminates with creating Muraba Vale, which is a very, very unique project. And as you guys appreciate, it's something that hasn't been done before, possibly in the world, in terms of architecture, in terms of design, and actually creating something very relevant for the place that is being created. So it's a project specifically designed for that location, for Dubai, for the context that we have here in the city, and also the climate and the local traditions, which is very different, because a lot of developers, they have a plot, and of course you want to be kind of maximizing your investment, so it's more of a commercially driven angle, whereas we do things very differently at Muraba. It's all about actually delivering something that is exceptional in terms of quality, and exceptional in terms of architecture, and exceptional in terms of the experience that people have when they live in a Muraba property. So that's where it kind of comes from. It's a expression of his passion for incredible architecture.
No, this is definitely an exceptional project, and I'm sure we might throw some images on the screen so people can actually see what this looks like. But for people who are just hearing about Muraba Vale for the first time, this is going to be the world's thinnest residential skyscraper, which is obviously a landmark in itself. And even on that note, there's so much more behind it. The Vale, which I'm sure we'll talk about. The location on Billionaires Road, Dubai Canal. There's so many different things that feed into this luxury project. So if you could give us a very sort of quick overview of what is Muraba Vale as a structure, I think that'd be great.
Yeah, so look, like you said, it's a skyscraper in essence, but it's not your typical Dubai skyscraper, mainly because part of the way we work with RCR and the way RCR have approached every single project in the past around the world, they always design and create a project for the place that they're building on. So every single project they've worked on has been very unique to that particular site, very factor in the local climate, the local traditions. So Muraba Vale is simply that. It wasn't that we wanted to build a skyscraper after building a 9-story building on the Palm. It was more that we obviously secured the plot on the Dubai Water Canal, Billionaires Row, as they call it these days. And it was that, RCR came to the site and they looked at the context of where we are. We're 10 minutes away from downtown, 10 minutes away from Jumeirah Beach. So you're kind of best of both worlds. And they came up with this kind of tower, which then became more slender because, that's how they wanted to approach it. But fundamentally, it was also to bring in the local traditions. So they looked at the traditional Arabic courtyard concept and how that has an impact of how people have lived here for a long time. And that was a way, the courtyard concept, effectively, you have the garden in the middle, that's surrounded by shaded kind of terraces, and then you have your habitable accommodation. So they looked at that and they kind of thought, how can we implement that in a kind of high-rise building relevant for where we are in terms of the location in Dubai, but also make it very different and make it like where people can enjoy living, like a place where you want to actually live in rather than just a glass bottle. There's many projects which are like that in Dubai, and that's perfectly fine. So that's how the whole kind of concept started. So they started with where we are located, and then they looked at okay, what traditional elements are relevant for the project. So you've got the Arabic courtyard concept, which shaped the kind of design. And obviously, I hope you guys can put some nice renders in there. But, you have this kind of another RCR signature way of approaching buildings is that they want to blur the lines between the interior and the exterior. So again, that was incorporated. So they flipped the Arabic courtyard concept where you have, substantial outdoor living space that can be basically doubling up your living area especially during these months in Dubai, but also to create spaces that can be enjoyed throughout the year, even when the climate gets more challenging. So that's where you have the Vale, which is another local tradition because you have the kind of the Vale, and that's something that also has been implemented in the project to kind of obviously the Vale, again, if you show some renders, it's hard to describe until you've come to the gallery, but effectively it's a movable facade front and back of the building, which allows residents to basically protect themselves from the elements, so filter the sunlight, but still allow the elements to kind of come through. So it just kind of gives you a bit more protection from the sun. It obviously gives you privacy, but that's very unique as well in terms of how the Vale is being used, because it does actually have a function to drop the temperature for the outdoor living space and to filter the sunlight, so it kind of protects you. So that's kind of the starting points of how the project started.
Yeah, no, it is just stunning, and obviously you've got these images to assist with imagining this project, but you're in Dubai Canal. You've got the world's thinnest residential skyscraper. In the background, you've got downtown Burj Khalifa. And because it is the world's thinnest residential skyscraper, each apartment has these dual aspect views, which is just unbelievable. Because obviously in a lot of projects, when people are buying, a lot of it comes down to views. Some people want to see, the sea or the park.
Yeah.
With this, you don't have to choose.
100%. Like, you might be limited in having a golf course view versus a water view as well, but this is unparalleled views of Dubai. And I think it's probably one of the first companies I've seen that nails a slogan so spot on to be seen and not
Seen and
seen
not
as well.
seen. Yeah.
Is that a big part of what went into this? Is just to completely do something different, to add to what is an incredible skyline, but to stand out in such a thin way?
Yeah, absolutely. It is the whole approach. We don't want to do things like everyone else, and this approach, yes, you want to be seen. And as you know, the building is 106 meters wide, so from driving on Shakeside Road, it is going to be very visible. Everyone is going to see it, and it'll be a landmark in the city skyline. But then from the other side, it's very, very slim, only 22.5 meters in depth, so seen and unseen. But also the aspect of the privacy that you get in Muraba Vale. Bear in mind there's a maximum of 3 residences per floor, then it goes up to 2 residences as you go higher up the building, and then 1 residence per floor. And we obviously know that the arrival is private, so it's about those elements. You're seen in the city, but when you come back to Muraba Vale, you're unseen, and you get that sense of refuge and privacy and exclusivity, which at the higher end, people want that feeling. So everything we do with the gallery, for example, it's by appointment only. We only have 6 appointments per day. That's also part of, kind of making sure we get the right people through the door, because obviously we want to have the best people living in the building. So every single detail is approached like that.
And I think, staying on that point, a lot of people will throw around the words, this is luxury redefined. This is genuinely luxury redefined. And you were talking about the type of people you want in the building.
Yeah.
In your experience, whilst you've had people at the gallery, who are the type of people that you are being interested in this project, and who are the type of clients that are actually buying Muraba Vale?
Yeah, very good question. So we have seen a lot of the profile of the buyers that have come through the gallery and have bought in the project. They are kind of people who appreciate fine art, the finer things in life. They've got very sophisticated tastes in terms of everything they acquire and they own. We've had a lot of Europeans, so a lot of Swiss, French, Germans, Spanish who have kind of bought into the project. It's Muraba Vale is a collector's item, essentially. Okay, so it's not going to be for everyone. If you want a branded residence or you want something that is tried and tested, is great, but Muraba Vale is that level above. So a lot of the clients that have bought or who have come through the gallery, they're just very, like collectors. They want something that other people don't have. We've got 380 meters tower, 72 floors, yet only 131 residences.
It's exclusive.
It's very exclusive, in a lot of towers that are above 50 floors, you've got 300, 400 apartments. So it's for someone who wants that sense of refuge, but still be within touching distance of life and what Dubai has to offer in terms of, restaurants and amenities. And now Dubai's got everything.
Yeah, I think what's quite interesting as well, so you're talking about the type of person that's interested, and this is going to be, in my opinion, like one of the best end user projects in Dubai.
Yeah.
And I think that also makes it quite attractive for the opposite of investors as well. Tell us about if you've dealt with any of those clients.
Yeah.
And obviously I've done my own research as well of what other projects are coming in that location. Obviously we know about Eden, but H&H is there.
Yeah.
We have the Four Seasons, which is there. So, I know the difference in pricing, but have you been dealing with any investors?
Yeah, absolutely. And we obviously changed the payment plan about 2 months ago because we recognized that, we have a lot of end users that would want to live in Muraba Vale when it's completed, but the reality is Dubai, especially off plan, is an investor-driven market, right? So we've recognized that. We've tweaked the payment plan, so now we're offering a 50-50 payment plan, a lot more attractive. You're only really putting 15% down in terms of kind of your deposit to secure a residence. Well, it's 5% booking, 10% on signing of SPA.
Yeah.
And I think from an investor point of view, as soon as we changed the payment plan, it completely also transformed the investment angle for investors, not just end users, because you know, if you look at some of the other projects you mentioned, you know, once they were completed, they were achieving phenomenal price per square foot, right? We're very good value by comparison, and that is intentional. But also we want people to kind of win with us on the journey of creating Muraba Vale. So I think, especially when the project will be built, if you're an investor, the capital appreciation I think people will enjoy will be significant, because it will be such a landmark project. And I'll give you an example. I had a client who owns residences in Burj Khalifa. They bought really, really early days. And obviously Dubai market, since the Burj Khalifa was built, has fluctuated, right? We've had very good periods, we've had more difficult periods. And their investments, they never really lost any money on that over the long term, even when the market around them, say, they were kind of, you know, being affected in a negative way, because they bought in Burj Khalifa, which is a landmark building. As an investment, their investments has been kind of bulletproof in that regards. So when they came to look at Muraba Vale, they quickly recognized that from an investment perspective, actually buying in a landmark building that's completely different to everything else that's branded or very similar, actually on a long-term basis has quite important implications in terms of your investment, because it's going to make it more desirable. It will mean your capital appreciation will be stronger, and you'll be less impacted by whatever the general market does, the macro market. So for investors, that's obviously key. You want to, you know, invest in a project that is very resilient but also very profitable. So we're kind of hitting both angles there, because we haven't overinflated the prices, but you know, we know for a fact when a landmark building will be completed, people will make significant, you know, returns on their investments, but it also means that they will have a timeless investment in many ways.
And I want to make it clear that I said it on this podcast, that this is not just a landmark for Dubai. I think this will be an iconic tower within the world. So I want that to be said now.
I feel like I said that word for word. Now stealing my line.
Didn't I say in the gallery and then you guys just repeated it?
That's unbelievable.
Wasn't I on a call and walked in? And
to be fair, he did actually recognize very quickly when you came into the gallery. I think both of you were very taken aback, I would say, because you quickly recognized that as something completely different in terms of...
I didn't really think I was looking at, you know, something off-plan and from a property perspective. I see it more as 131 opportunities to be part of this piece of art. And of course, you're competing against a very iconic figure in the Burj Khalifa, adding to that, you know, very prominent skyline that Dubai is known for. But to do that at this level, visually, I don't, exactly what we said there, I don't just think it's adding to Dubai skyline as an iconic figure. It's the world around. It'll be recognized. It'll be like, wow, this is what's in Dubai now, alongside the Burj Khalifa as well. And I think that's what an end user investor, they can go on that journey and be part of as well.
Yeah, and I think as well, from the investment angle, obviously Muraba's history, like you said, Muraba Dia on the Palm, but I think this is very different. Obviously, it's a completely different product, but even, you know, you only started selling that when it was handed over, right? So this is a completely different, you know, this is from the beginning, from the ground up. So I think that also makes it a very different investment proposition, because, you know, a lot of people will be like, oh, we want to look at the track record of a developer, etc. But I think here you just really need to just come to the gallery and really appreciate what it is and look beyond.
I guess one of the things we're seeing in the market, and the stats back it up as well, is that branded residences, like, it's becoming a craze in Dubai almost. How do you think Muraba Vale will compete with some of these branded residences? You've got like Bugatti, Lamborghini.
Well, look, it's a very good question, and a lot of people that do come into the Muraba Vale gallery are also looking at all the other branded residences. The reality is it's not really a comparison we want to make. We're aware that they are, in a way, direct competitors, but in terms of quality of products and delivery, we know that it's not even on the same class. We are obviously putting all the energy. Mr. Ibrahim, our founder, is also kind of very involved in this to ensure that we deliver the best of the best in the market. And we're only focusing our energy on Muraba Vale at the moment, whereby other developers, you know, they're much bigger. They have multiple projects rolling at the same time. So I think for us, we are in competition with those projects because it's an option that people have when they're looking to invest. But really, it sits above for us in terms of we know what we're trying to deliver. We don't want to be a branded residence per se. It was very easy for us to have the site, build a skyscraper and put a label on it and sell it as a branded residence. But that goes against the whole philosophy of Muraba as a brand. We want Muraba itself to become a brand of its own, but very different brand, not a mass kind of market brand, but more of a, actually it's for the discerning few. And one of the new slogans that we have is for the few, Muraba Vale for the few. And again, that's very intentional because we know that I think Dubai, even more so now, if you look at the kind of restaurants that are opening, the kind of entertainment venues that you have in the city, a lot of the world's ultra high net worth individuals are already in the city, and there is that desire and that appetite for projects that go beyond just a branded residence. So that's where I think we obviously as a project kind of stand out, because it caters for that, you know, very niche profile of clients that want the very, very best. So I think for us, we appreciate that, you know, a lot of people will buy a branded residence, but actually there's a lot of people out there who actually want to have something that others don't have.
Yeah, no, definitely. And we're talking about how this project is, you know, unbelievable in terms of the luxury it's offering and how it's going to stand above these other projects. Tell us a bit about who Muraba are partnering with, because it really is like, it's not just, oh, we're saying we're the best. You actually are partnering with some of the best in the game. So tell us who's involved.
Yeah, I can't give away all the exciting partnerships because we will be announcing them as we progress through the year. But in terms of from start to finish, we are literally working with the best in every single industry. So obviously in terms of structural engineers, we're working with WSP and Arup. They're basically the two best companies in the world who are behind pretty much the biggest skyscrapers ever created in the world. So we've actually created a partnership between them two, so they work on the project. So in terms of what you see Muraba Vale now as a skyscraper, that was, you know, 2 years of design work and working with the partners to create a building which obviously is solid and it makes sense from every perspective. In terms of, for example, we're working with Skyframe, who are basically creating, again, very unique for the first time in the world, you know, the kind of motorized internal doors, floor-to-ceiling glass doors. As you know, in the duplex apartments, there'll be 7.6 meters in height. So that's never been created. So we're really pushing the boundaries in terms of engineering as well with our partners. In terms of like the integrated audio system, I can't tell you the brand yet because we're announcing them in February, but it's literally the best in the world. They have never created an integrated solution for a residential building. Wow. So it'll be the first time in the world they're doing this. It'll be a brand that everybody will know. They're present in some of the best sports cars in the world. And if you know, you know. If you're, you know, a petrol head, then a lot of people will probably know exactly who I'm talking about. Yeah. But, you know, this is the kind of people that we work with. You know, from obviously the gallery. The gallery was created by RCR themselves. So the experience, the sense, the kind of feeling you get in the gallery, it's again just a teaser of what we're trying to deliver. But we've got some very exciting partnerships. Obviously the Wellness Club will again we're in talks with a world-class operator, spa operator, which they are not present in Dubai, so it'll be the first time they come, but they're world class. In terms of,
excited for the paddle.
The paddle court, yeah.
The paddle in Muraba Vale.
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
But do you know what's crazy? Like when you look at the amenities, it looks like something out of a movie.
It looks like Star Wars.
So yeah, the Wellness Club is obviously underneath the building. You're basically, it's like a sand dune, and that was the whole, you know, a building relevant for Dubai. We're in the desert,
No, it's just stunning.
We've touched on it a little bit. Obviously, Dubai is expanding. Many people moving here.
Yeah.
In our H2 report from Espace, we've just seen that our top 10 buyers, 5 of which are from Western European countries, 4 of those countries are from top 10 countries ranked in national GDP.
Yeah.
How important is the strategy of the location on Dubai Canal? on Billionaires Row in terms of the test of time, do you think, for this project?
Look, I think very, to be 10 minutes away from downtown, but 10 minutes away from the beach is the best of both worlds. And that's what people want. You're on the waterfront. I think that location itself, we know already by the projects that have completed there, it's also quite a limited pocket of projects that can come up. So that in itself will hold its value, because you're not going to have an oversaturation of projects like you have in Business Bay, right? In Business Bay, there's still a lot of land that's being developed. So you have towers next to each other. On the water canal, you're quite limited by the park, by Safford Park. How important is that for the project? Well, I mean, that's why we strategically picked that plot, because we know not everyone wants to be on the Palm. People maybe want to be closer to downtown, but then you've got the best of both worlds, because you can go to Jumeirah Beach, you can go to Kite Beach, you're only 10 minutes away. So everyone's got different preferences. Some people want to go to Dubai Hills and be in a villa. Some people love living on the Palm. You've got Palm Jebel Ali. It just depends. But I think Muraba will really kind of cater for a lot of people who actually want to be on the downtown side, the IFC, but also have the beach quite close by. And there's some exciting projects coming up besides Muraba Vale on that strip. So you've got the peninsula as well. So there's actually, if you look at what's happening in that quite concentrated pocket with very limited plots available for development, that's one of the reasons why it's called Billionaires Row, because people want to be there. You're next to the water. So I think for us as a project, it was great to have such an opportunity to buy that plot and create something very special, which fits in with that location.
Yeah, and just going back on the architecture, and obviously with RCR, the Pritzker Prize winning, which is the equivalent to a Nobel Prize in architecture, which is just phenomenal. And I think it really shines through in this building. And we're talking about how you're 10 minutes from the beach, 10 minutes to downtown. So as you go up the building, you've got these dual aspect views. You've got stunning views over the Arabian Gulf, stunning views of downtown. And then you've got the Vale as well, which is, I guess, probably the most unique thing, apart from being the world's famous residential skyscraper. This is probably the most unique thing. Tell us a bit more about the Vale. Obviously, I know you touched on it earlier. That it's going to help control temperature. It's motorized. Tell us just a bit more about the Vale.
So it's not just aesthetics and to be
it is Muraba Vale. It's in the name, so it's actually, besides the Arabic courtyard concept and designing on that principle, actually the Vale is very important because it offers you that protection from the natural elements, but it's basically also a way of having the landscape come into the residences. So you can imagine it's like a curtain. It's a motorized, effectively, veil or curtain, and that is made out of stainless steel. It's porous, and effectively you have the option for each section to close that or open it. So for example, your arrival on the private space, you may want to close it so you don't get the direct sunlight. You'll still get the natural light, but it'll be filtered, so it'll be nicer. Then in your living space, you might want to open it so you can actually enjoy the city, the landscape that is kind of coming in, and it's part of your living space. So the Vale does have, a function. It's mainly designed there not to look nice from the outside, which we'll do anyway, but it's actually there functionally to shade, to make that outdoor living space a lot more livable. So it gives you that shade. So then when you are sitting on the outdoor space, if the sun's hitting directly, you close the Vale. You still get the light, but you don't get that direct sunlight. So it makes it much nicer to live there.
And the Vale covers the entire building.
Yes.
But just to clarify, each individual residence can control their own parts of the Vale in different rooms as well.
From different rooms. So you may have the bedroom, the principal bedroom, closed, but open the living space, and then you've got the landscape, so you're looking at the city. So, and you can do that on the back as well. Of course, from the outside, you've got this shining stainless steel structure. Each resident will do different things with their own Vale. Effectively, the building from the outside is going to look quite impressive because it will always change. So the facade of the building would always, it's like a live building effectively. So the front and the back of the Vale will never really look the same because people will do different things with the Vale.
It's actually quite interesting you mentioned that it's a live building, because I think it is like a breathing building. So the facade's going to be changing, but I know you're incorporating a lot of like greenery within the apartments as well, which looks phenomenal. It's quite like a minimalistic design. So it all just like they say, it blends the interior and the exterior. So
how does the veil interact with like the outdoor living space? Is it on the edge or is it inside?
Yeah, so you'll have structural columns which stick out by 2 meters, and I guess we can put some renders to kind of show people. Then you have the actual veil kind of set back from that, and then you've got the safety glass. Then you have a minimum of 5 meters of outdoor living space.
Courtyard.
Yeah, effectively. And then you have your floor-to-ceiling stackable glass doors, which are the start of your internal space. Yeah. But obviously, you can open those stackable doors and double up on your living space. Yeah. So the veil effectively sits as, I would say, almost the first layer. But then you do have the structural columns which stick out a little bit in order to break the wind, and So I think if we show some renders, people will get the idea. But the veil is effectively the first kind of layer of the building amongst this series of layers. And bear in mind, in terms of sustainability, Muraba Vale is a very sustainable building, because traditionally you have glass, the sun hits the glass directly, then you have your internal space, right? During the really hot summer months in Dubai, you're basically 45 degrees outside, glass, and then inside you're trying to cool to 22 Celsius, right? With the different layers we have in Muraba Vale, actually, it completely changes the dynamic of how you have to cool down the residence, because you have the veil as a first line of protection. Then you've got, once the veil's closed, you've got 5 meters of outdoor living space. The 5 meters is very intentional, because that actually creates shade. So it's like the difference between sitting in the shade and being in the sun is quite substantial, right? So that, again, maybe outside is 45, the outdoor living space drops to 35. Then you've got the actual triple glazed floor to ceiling kind of glass doors. So then you're cooling, instead of cooling from 45, you're cooling from 35 to 22. Yeah. It takes a lot of the pressure on your aircon and your comfort cooling. So that has, over long term, you can imagine, has a massive impact on sustainability, because you're using a lot less energy to cool your internal space through the different layers. So it's not just there to look pretty. It actually has a massive function and a sustainability angle.
I've got a question for you directly.
Yeah.
So you've got a background in selling luxury real estate for over 10 years,
15
years. Some of the most luxury properties in London. I know you're selling a lot in West London, and you got approached by Muraba to come and sell in Dubai, this project specifically.
Yeah.
What was it? Question one, what was it that made you give that up, London, selling luxury property, to come and sell just this project?
Yeah.
And two, in your personal opinion, when this is done, where will it sit within world, Dubai real estate and the world more generally?
Yeah, very good question. I mean, look, I saw the virtual presentation, and I quickly understood, in terms of architecture, I've never seen that kind of project in my life. So I quickly understood that this is very unique. Then I obviously came to Dubai and I saw the gallery, and it was a no-brainer. Obviously, I wanted to return. I used to live in Dubai back in 2014, 2015. I wanted to come back to Dubai, but when I saw the level of detail, the level of architecture, the level of design, and the approach to something so unique, I've seen my fair share of new build projects, luxury homes, but I've never seen something so radical and so special and so kind of beyond what you normally do as a developer, that it made me kind of think, okay, this could be, to answer your second part of the question, this is going to be very unique in the world. Yeah. There's not many projects that I can think of where you kind of are mind blown by how architecture's kind of been approached. And for me, it was just like, wow, this makes complete sense. It's going to be a landmark building in Dubai, possibly the world. And it was something that I wanted to be part of. It's
an easy decision.
It was a very easy decision. So I kind of knew after the virtual gallery experience that it was something very unique. So I was like, wow, I've never seen anything like it. when I came in person and saw the gallery, as you know, you're kind of like, wow, this is on a different level. So it was a relatively easy decision, but I wanted to return back to Dubai and, you know, kind of be in the city, because I think it's the place to be.
I was going to say, and just quickly on the sort of personal notes, and I saw you met up with another sort of leading figure in the real estate space, Daniel Daggers.
Yes.
So he came to Dubai.
Yeah.
Did you tell him about Muraba Vale?
Oh yeah, he knows about it, of course. Yeah.
What's his thoughts on it?
Well, look, it's a very special project, and again, he's sold the most amazing properties in the world. Yeah, he's very impressed by it, and yeah, we kind of talked about more personal stuff.
Yeah.
It was less related to real estate,
Yeah.
but yeah, he obviously acknowledges the fact that it's something very rare and very unique, and there's not a project like it in the world. You know, you don't have it in London. Dubai doesn't have it, so.
That's interesting.
I think it will raise the bar for what Dubai, and I think, look, part of Ibrahim's vision is to actually do that. He wants to kind of elevate the bar and how people approach building in the UAE and around the world, in terms of actually thinking about these elements, not just building for the sake of building, but actually building with a purpose. So yeah, Muraba Vale, that's one of his visions, is to actually just push the bar. And for Dubai, I think Dubai is ready now, given the kind of people that are in the city. You want, you know, people want something sophisticated, something that actually you can live in it, and it's a timeless kind of project. So I think that's what Muraba Vale will do to Dubai, and yeah, in the world, people will maybe think of architecture, and people who have the means to develop something like this, they will look at it and try to replicate or do something on the similar kind of approach, you know. So I think it's good. It's definitely great for Dubai.
Yeah. And I think Dubai is about exclusivity, luxury, and scarcity creates value. And again, this feels more like a collector's piece, because there only is 131 opportunities.
Yeah.
I think what would be nice is to actually go into like unit specifics, what's actually available, kind of ideas of square footage, pricing as well.
Yeah.
Because Jordan is a strong data person. We see the value of what's transacting nearby as well. But to give an idea of what Muraba Vale actually offers, could you tell us a little bit more?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got 2-bedroom residences, 2-bedroom plus 1, because you have support staff accommodation as well. They start at 18 million dirhams, and they're 4,000 square feet. So price per square foot is 4,500 per square foot. As you guys know, there are other projects that are selling for much higher price per square foot. We have 56 2 beds. Then we have 3 bedrooms without pools that start at 23 million dirhams. Then we have the 3-bedroom pool residences, which have their own private pool. They start at 30 million dirhams. They've actually been the most popular. So we have limited availability on those units. Then you have the 3-bedroom pool extra large residences, which are 10,000 square feet.
Wow.
And much bigger, starting at 56 million. And then obviously you've got the 4-bed simplex, which spans across the width of the building. We've got the duplexes, 3 beds and 4 beds, and one-of-a-kind penthouse, which is 25,000 square feet, which isn't on the market yet.
A true penthouse. Yeah.
Well, if you say a penthouse, there should be one, but you know, people like to throw in a few sub penthouses in the mix. So yeah, there's really kind of, and if all types of apartments for everyone. You've got, you know, 4,000 square foot 2-bedroom, all the way to a 15,000 square foot four bed or one-of-a-kind penthouse, which is 25,000 square feet. So the range kind of differs in terms of availability. Like I say, we've got the 3-bedroom pool residences that have been the most popular, but there are only 17 of those units.
Oh, wow, yeah.
So from an investment perspective, if you've bought one of those, because in the building there's only 17 of them, then that, again, that scarcity factor is going to play into capital appreciation, or when people look to kind of resell in a few years. And obviously the bigger units are even more limited. So, you know, again, it depends what people want, but it's a very exclusive project, and I think investors will do really, really well because there's not a lot of each type. Obviously a 2-bedroom is more available.
And to maybe put you on a spot a little bit, when clients are coming to the gallery, what are the common misconceptions you're seeing that you're walking through after that? They're like, oh wow, I didn't know this about the project. What's coming up a lot from these clients?
Look, in terms of like of negative stuff, or you mean like
Or maybe something they didn't understand before that after they've spoke to you or visited the gallery,
Yeah.
now they're like, oh wow, I didn't know
I
that.
think in a very saturated market like Dubai, you know, you can send someone a brochure and a few renders, but actually until they actually experience the gallery, it's very hard for people to fully understand the concept because there's quite a lot.
Yeah.
So like the Arabic courtyard and how that has actually shaped the internal layout of the units. So we get a lot of people who, it's really funny to see the journey of a client through the gallery, because a lot of people sometimes, you know, their brokers kind of drag them into the gallery and they think, oh, this is just another sales center showroom kind of thing, and they're like another luxury project. And they come into the gallery and automatically they're like, okay, this is a very different space, you know, and the whole the kind of music and everything that makes you feel very differently. By the end of the tour, they're completely like mesmerized by it. So I think in a very noisy market, it's hard to stand out as a project until people come to the gallery and they actually understand what we're all about. So I think that's kind of the main one. It's like the misconception is that Muraba Vale is just another luxury project because everything's called luxury.
Yeah.
So that's why kind of we say to people, this is a collector's item. It's like, imagine buying an exclusive limited edition watch or a piece of fine art that is very unique in the world. This is how you can compare that. Yes, you can have all the luxury stuff, but it's not limited edition. It's not that next level. So that's one of the main misconceptions. People don't really get their head around of how special the project is.
I think calling the gallery a sales center would almost be insulting.
Yeah, it's an art gallery.
It's an
effectively
interactive experience. It's an art gallery. I think one thing the gallery captures very, very well, and this is why clients have to go down there with someone from Espace, is because it captures that exclusivity, that intimacy as well, and it walks you through each detail step by step in an art gallery style. It's never been done before, and I think when you're setting the tone for the gallery to be like that, that's exactly what the building is looking to achieve as well. So
absolutely.
Was that the thought process behind building it this way, not just doing a sales center?
No, absolutely. It was like I said to you, the whole approach from A to Z was that we are taking people on a journey, on an experience. We want people to it builds with it. It's kind of, your emotions are very important, and we wanted to create the gallery as a space where people feel differently and they walk away feeling that they've experienced something that they haven't experienced ever before buying real estate, you know. So everything, all the, you know, the steps of how the gallery is laid out and what we do is very well thought out, and it's a journey and an experience that we wanted to give people. So it's all kind of calculated because we want to actually get people to understand what Muraba is about in terms of actually, if we're doing this to go, you know, it's a temporary structure, that gallery. People think it's a permanent structure, and people are always like, oh, so you're like, the gallery's on site and you're going to have to move the gallery to a different location. Yes, we're going to do that. But, you know, the quality of the gallery is incredible. Yeah. And the gallery V2, version 2, the new one, will be much, much more impressive because we'll have more hints of the project and more things to show people. So the experience will be elevated once again. Yeah. But, you know, this is the kind of level and the attention of detail that we're going to in order to deliver something so exceptional. You cannot just do what everyone else is doing when you're trying to build something so unique and so rare and so special. Because
we walked away when we first came to the sales gallery, and I think the common message we had between us is, this is going to change the landscape of Dubai forever. We were almost in disbelief at what we just seen. It's again, you've never seen anything like it from a gallery perspective, and that's because the project itself, when you get that level of detail of what is to come, you've never seen anything like it. And that is not an understatement any shape or form. No. Because of the level of detail, right?
Yeah, and I'm even thinking, like, when I saw some of the maybe ads on Instagram, or I saw the photos for the first time, like, this actually does look pretty cool, but starting at 18 million for a 2-bed, like, what even is this? And then obviously you went and I walked about like, this is just unbelievable. So it really, that gallery does such an amazing job. And I didn't even think about, it's the whole, you come in exclusively by yourself, only one tour at a time. So No, it is just phenomenal. I think that's the word to sum it up. It's just phenomenal, and it's now's the time to get involved if you're someone that's looking at a luxury project like this, or you're an investor. Whilst you're still believing in the vision, that's always the best time to invest in anything, because as I'm sure time goes on with the new gallery and the building starts to be constructed, you're losing out on value.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, obviously prices, prices will increase. The market would have moved. We will have limited availability as the time goes by. So now is the time to secure the best units. We actually haven't touched the prices since pre-launch.
Yeah.
And obviously there'll be a point when we will increase the prices. But like I say, from a client perspective, the best thing they can do is actually just take the time to come and see the gallery, because we could sit here and do 5 podcasts, but unless you experience it, like you guys, and everyone, you can sit on the phone and try to get people to imagine it and visualize it. The reality is it's a feeling that you get. It's an experience. That's what we've wanted to create. So that's the main key thing, is for people to actually come and experience the gallery for themselves, and then they can make their own opinion of how special the project is.
Lovely. I really don't just think we're talking about another skyscraper in Dubai's skyline. I do think we're looking at an iconic trophy tower that's going to stand out around the world. I do think it has the potential to become that worldwide brand. For more information about this incredible project, get in touch with Espace today, and let's visit this incredible gallery with Muraba Development.